Hey Gopi Jana Baba Jayo Giri Bardari Jayo Giri Bardari Jasodanandana Jayo Braja Janaranjana Jayo Jasodanandana Jayo Braja Janaranjana Jayo Jasodanandana Jayo Gopi Janaranjana Jamuna Tiravanachari Jayo Kunja Bihari Jayo Kunja Bihari Jamuna Tiravanachari Jayo Kunja Bihari Jayo Kunja Bihari Hey Jamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jayo Kunja Bihari Jayo Radhamadava Jayo Kunja Bihari Jayo Jayo Radhamadava Jayo Kunja Bihari Hey Gopi Jana Ballabha Jaya Giri Bharadari Jayo Giri Bharadari Hey Gopi Jana Ballabha Jayo Giri Bharadari Jayo Giri Bharadari Jasodanandana Jayo Braja Janaranjana Hey Jasodanandana Jayo Gopi Janaranjana Hey Jayo Jasodanandana Jayo Gopi Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Panachari Jayo Kunja Bihari Jayo Kunja Bihari Jamuna Tira Panachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jayo Kunja Bihari He Jayo Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Behari He Jayo Radha Madhava Jayo Kunja Behari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Sham. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Kala Chandi Radha Kala Chandi Radhe, Jaya Radha Kala Chandi Radha Kala Chandi Radhe, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Gurudev. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajikacharya Asto Tavastasisi Mad, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajikacharya Asto Tavastasisi Mad, His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki. Prem Sikaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Go Gopinath Sham Kun Radha Kun Giri Govardhan Ki. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki. Shri Mayapur Navadip Dham Ki. Ganga Maya Ki. Jamuna Maya Ki. Bhakti Devi Ki. Tulsi Maharani Ki. Sambeda Bhakta Vrinda Ki. Srinatai Gaur Primanandi. All glories of the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga Hari Hari Bol. Good morning, everyone. Hare Krishna. Is everybody well? Is everybody relishing this wonderful opportunity that's been given to us by the Dallas community? Is everybody relishing? You know, by Prabhupada's grace and by Krishna's grace, I have the opportunity to travel a lot around the world and share Harinam. And we're invited to a lot of festivals. Sometimes we go places for festivals, and sometimes we just go because temples invite us. We're visiting Vaishnavas in a particular region. They always ask me, you go to so many festivals, which festival do you like the best? And without a moment's hesitation, I say, Dallas. And they say, why? And it's a number of reasons. Number one, because I think number one is because the Dallas community is a real loving Vaishnava community. It's very open-hearted. It's very inviting. It's very inclusive. It's just the hospitality that we receive here. I don't know, maybe it's just because I hail from the South. And traditionally we think of Southern hospitality. And I just really feel so wonderful when I come here. And many times we go to festivals, you know, we get invited, invitations come. And invitations come practically every day. And then the negotiations begin how to get there. And, you know, in many places, the negotiations are like going to a really bad dentist. You know, it's sort of like painful. And I think myself, and I know Anandamurti and Yogi and Akinchana and Rati is like our team from Vrindavan. And I don't know about Amala's experience, but we always find that Haridas just bends over backwards to make any arrangement or any accommodation that we need. Is it fact? Is it like that for you, Amala? I mean, you know, sometimes, like we live on the other side of the world, and sometimes festival organizers want you to take 10 different flights to get to a place because, you know, it's cheap. But Haridas is just so kind and accommodating, and it's just a reflection of the loving nature of this community. And then I think, well, why is this community, why is that mood and why is that feeling there? And I would say one reason is because His Holiness Ritadvaja Maharaj is here. And anybody who knows Maharaj knows that he's just got the biggest heart in the world. And I think another reason is because there's so many disciples of His Holiness Tamal Krishna Goswami Maharaj here. And he really put something extraordinary in the hearts of all of his disciples. And then naturally, Kalachandji is here. And he's so big, and he's so accommodating. They say everything is bigger in Texas. And just when I came in, I was having darshan, and I was praying to Kalachandji, and I took out my phone, and I was like staring at Kalachandji's feet. I've never seen feet so big on a deity anywhere in the world. Maybe Mayapur, because they're so massive. But Kalachandji's got the biggest lotus feet I think I've ever seen. I took a picture of his feet. And those lotus feet are giving shelter to all of us. His lotus feet and the divine lotus feet of Sri Radha. So I would like to say it's such an honor to be here with all of you. It's just one festival. Like some festivals, devotees invite to come. No, I have something else to do. No, there's something else to do. Dallas, you just always want to come here because it's so nice. And there's such a wonderful array of Kirtaniyas who are here. My Lord, it's just swimming in nectar. Anytime somebody sits down to chant the holy names, it's swimming in the nectar of Krishna Nam Sankirtan. There's another festival which is really nice, and that's in Dubai. I know Amalo was there. Was this your first year, or have you been there before?
It was my second time, but I hadn't been in 5 years.
Uh-huh. It's wonderful, isn't it?
Fantastic.
And Ananda and Yogi, they were there. Anybody else here was in Dubai this year?
Virtually or in person?
Oh. Mataji was there. It's, Dubai Festival. If you all ever, say you go to India for Kartik, plan on your way back to stop. It's always like the 29th, 1st and 2nd, something like that of December, 29th November, 30th. It coincides with their national day over there, but that is a fantastic festival. And people would think, in a country in the Middle East, you're having, a kirtan with 2,000 or 3,000 people in a hall. Isn't it something, Amala? There's one family there, the Mankanis. And the Mankanis, they own a chain of schools in Dubai called Regent School, and I think different schools have different names. But these people are real devotees, and like the leader of the family is Mrs. Mankani. She's about 85 now, and she's such a devotional, powerful, enthusiastic, and loving lady. And that whole school auditorium, it becomes a temple. Beautiful decoration, fantastic sound. The team that runs the sound at Radhadesh Mellows, they come down. They run the sound in Dubai. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. But the Dallas community, you've given us this opportunity, and we're very grateful. We're grateful because you've given us a chance to engage in what Rupa Goswami calls the essence of bhakti, or in Sanskrit the word is sar. It means the very essence. And in Sri Rupa Goswami's Upadeshamritam, in verse 8, he says, Tan nama rupa charitadi sukirtananu smrito krimena rasana manasi niyojam tishtan braje tad anuragi jananugami kalam nayed akilam iti upadesh sar. So he says, of all the practices, all the philosophy of bhakti, the sar, or the essence is this, that we should always have the opportunity, and we should always form our lives in such a way that 24 hours a day we engage in hearing about nama, rupa, charitadi. We hear the pure holy name of Krishna. We hear about the form, rupa, of Krishna. Charitadi, we hear about the activities or the pastimes of Krishna. And he says, Sukirtananu. Now, many times we speak about kirtan, but Srila Rupa Goswami says, Sukirtananu. And this su, it means the offenseless kirtan of the holy name. Engaging in devotional service in such a way that we, in all of our practices of bhakti, we avoid these 10 pitfalls that will obstruct us from achieving the goal of prema bhakti. And that is our goal. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has said, prema pumarto mahan, that the greatest artha of life is prema. That's the greatest gift. So that gift can be achieved just through this Sankirtan, like what is being done here. Nama, Rupa, we're seeing this beautiful, gorgeous form of Radha Kalachandji. We want to hear about the form of Krishna. There's so many transcendental poets who have given so many beautiful descriptions about the form of Krishna. Like in that chapter 21 of the 10th canto, there's that description that begins, Barha pidam natta vadapapu karniyo karnikaranam. And it describes, that's a description of Krishna, and it's been described as one of the best descriptions of Krishna in the entire Srimad Bhagavatam. And it's spoken by the lips of the young girls of Vrindavan as Krishna is going to the pasturing grounds with his boyfriends. And it says, Barha pitam nattavara bapu karniyo karnikaranam. He says, Krishna, on his head, he has this big peacock fan, like one of those big ones, not just a single feather. What does Kalachandji have today? He has, well, my eyes don't work anymore. Like a nice big peacock fan, Barha Bitam, Nattabara Bapu. He's showing the form of the best of dancers. He says, Karniyo Karnikarnam. On each of his ears, he has blue lotus flowers, you know. I mean, all young people, they dress very beautifully. But can you imagine dressing in such an attractive way that on each of your ears you have a blue lotus flower while you're going out? It says his garments are yellow like gold. He has a Vaijayanti mala on his neck. Can somebody tell me a characteristic of the Vaijayanti mala? Anyone? Mataji in the back?
5 different colors.
Yes, ma'am.
And long.
And what?
Long.
Yes, it goes down practically to his feet. The saints say that the mala is long and it's always trying to touch the attractive lotus feet of the Lord as he's walking. You know, the mala is in so much anxiety. How am I going to get down there and touch his feet? This is Krishna Randram Venur. He's blowing on his flute as he's walking. And it says that when he's walking, that beautiful form, he looks like a baby elephant when he walks. Who has actually observed, like little elephant or big elephant when they walk? Anyone? A lot of people. In Mayapur, we have that opportunity when you go down to the place where they keep the elephant. And this last year, some of my friends got married in Kenya, and they took me out to a game reserve, and we would see the elephants, the way that they would walk so slowly and so gracefully and so distinctly. That's Krishna when he's walking. And it says that while he's walking, he's got his beautiful black curly hair, and he's surrounded by swarming bumblebees because they see Krishna's beautiful lotus face and they think it's a lotus flower. So they're trying to fly into his face to take the nectar. And he has so many cowherd boys dancing around him. And it says that the dust of Vrindavan becomes blessed by the touch of his lotus feet. So Nama, Rupa, and Charitadi, the activities of Krishna. Sri Rupa says we should always hear Krishna's activities. All of his activities. We should hear his activities on Kurukshetra battlefield. We should hear his activities herding cows. We should hear his activities killing demons in Vrindavan. We should hear his activities in the arms of Mother Jasoda. Just like about 4 days ago, I went to a place in Vrindavan called Javat. Has anyone here ever been to Javat? A number of people. Javat is a nice place. Javat is where Sri Radha goes to live after her marriage. And Vrishabhanu Maharaj built a beautiful palace over there for her. And though she's married, Jasoda daily requests her to come across to, Nandagram to cook breakfast for Krishna. That's a whole big story that we can't get into. But we walked across the path going over to Terkadamba, where Nanda Maharaj had his Goshala. And we were talking about Krishna just getting out in the morning to go take care of the cows. And it's sort of difficult. Sort of like here, it's like there's so many people who were present in the temple last night, and there's a lot less people here this morning because everybody was up really late chanting the holy names and then taking prasadam and getting to bed late and then getting up early is difficult. Well, Krishna stays up all night long in Vrindavan, playing with the gopis in the fields of Vrindavan, in the forests of Vrindavan. And just thinking of, it's like Jasoda, when we were singing Jaya Radha Madhava and we were singing Jasoda Nandana, and thinking of, Jasoda trying to wake up Krishna. And even though he's a teenage boy, she thinks he's just my little baby. Holding him in her arms, and then finally she just has to, because there's no time, he has to go to the Goshala. Because if he doesn't appear in the Goshala, the cows won't give milk. So then she just takes Krishna's beautiful curly hair and she pulls it back and she ties it and she says, "Darling, go." And so, Nama, Rupa, Charitadi. But Sukirtananu, and that's the requirement, or that's the test that's been given to all of us, that we should perform our science of sadhana bhakti very, very purely. And we should perform the science of sadhana bhakti, Krishna consciousness, without committing offenses. And Srila Prabhupada has told us, and Sri Rupa Goswami has explained to us in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, that the potentiality of engaging in sadhana bhakti purely is the awakening of bhav bhakti. That's the potential. Just like last night, Vrindavan and myself and Braja Mohan, we went to that big lake that's nearby. What is it called? Huh?
White Rock.
White Rock. And we were having our walk there and chanting japa, and there's so many big trees there. But those trees, they came from a little tiny seed. Very little tiny seed. So the potentiality of performing our Krishna consciousness perfectly according to the instructions of your Guru Maharaj and according to the instructions of Srila Prabhupada and our predecessor acharyas is the purification of the heart and receiving mercy and then coming to the stage of bhav bhakti. And then the potentiality of practicing devotional service at the stage of bhav bhakti is the awakening of prema bhakti. And that's our goal. It's not our goal just because of the ecstasies that one will experience, but it's our goal because then we'll be in the most perfect state of consciousness to be able to serve Radhe Shyam in the most perfect way. So Tannama Rupa Charitari Sukirtananu, offenselessly. And we should keep that. And we should be mindful of that in our practices of devotional service. Smrito Kramena Rasana Manasi Niyoga. He says, if you just do this, your mind and your senses will become perfectly controlled. And when mind and senses are controlled, that's the perfection of yoga. And then his next instruction is Tishtan Braje Tad Anuragi Jananugami. He says, when you become perfect, in that perfect state, then you follow in the footsteps of a resident of Goloka Vrindavan and serve Krishna in that way. He says, this is the sum and substance of the practices of bhakti. So the Dallas community has given us a great opportunity that we can come together and do that. And since our activities this weekend are based around Tannama Rupa Charitadi Sukirtananu, I decided that I would just read a few verses about Harinam. Is that okay with everyone? Okay, so we'll read from Chaitanya Charitamrita, and if I can find, let's see. Okay. This is a beautiful section of Chaitanya Charitamrita that it describes, it's Antya-lila, and it's chapter 1, and it describes Sri Rupa Goswami's second meeting with the Lord. Where was Rupa Goswami's first meeting with the Lord? Who can tell me? Huh? Well, I think he first met them in Ramakeli, and that's where while they were still serving Hussein Shah, and that's when he gave them initiation, and he changed their names from Sakar Malik and Dabir Khas to Shri Rupa and Sanatan. And then definitely he met Rupa in Prayag, and he instructed him for 10 days in the science of bhakti. And he met Sanatan at another time in Varanasi, and he instructed him for 2 months in the science of bhakti. So Rupa has come down to Jagannath Puri. And on his way to Jagannath Puri, his brother Anupam died, Sri Ballabh, he passed away. And he was meditating, and he was thinking, I want to write a drama about Krishna. And he was thinking of putting all of Krishna's pastimes in one book. But while he was traveling in Orissa, one evening he stopped and he stayed in a village called Satyabhamapur. And that evening while he was there, when he took rest, Satyabhama came to him in his dream and said, don't put all the pastimes in one book. He said, keep, Dwarka Lila separate, keep Vrindavan Lila separate. So that's what he did. And Vrindavan Lila is called Bidagda Madhava, and Dwarka Lila is called Lalita Madhava. But he's there, and all the great Vaishnavas of Jagannath Puri are meeting Rupa Goswami for the first time. they have not seen him. And you know that when Mahaprabhu went to Jagannath Puri, Vaishnavas from so many places, they came and they joined his team there. Some of the Vaishnavas that he had met when he was in South India, they came up. Vaishnavas came down from Bengal. Some Vaishnavas were already in Puri, but that sort of made the core group of Mahaprabhu's team. And Swarup Damodar and Ramananda Roy were there. Swarup Damodar is actually from Swarupganj. Who knows where Swarupganj is? Amala knows where Swarupganj is. Anybody here know, like you're in Mayapur, you cross the Jalangi and you go to Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur's Samadhi? Yeah, you know, so you can see that. And you can see his Samadhi and you like walk around his Samadhi and there's not much room to walk around in the back and there's a boundary wall. On the other side of the boundary wall was the home of Swarup Damodar. And that area is called Swarupganj. So he came down with Mahaprabhu and he met Ramananda Roy when he traveled in South India. He lived in Andhra. And so he came up. So all these great Vaishnavas were there, but they hadn't met Rupa Goswami. And all of a sudden, Rupa Goswami appears on the scene. And he stays with Haridas Thakur. And that was a beautiful aspect of Mahaprabhu's mission. We talk about inclusiveness, and we talk about how, you know, we want our Krishna consciousness movement to be inclusive. We want everybody to feel at home here. Well, Haridas Thakur, he was born as a Muslim, but he was attracted to the holy name from the time of his birth. And although he was born in Muslim Dharma, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu made him the Namacharya. Talk about inclusiveness. And Rupa and Sanatan, they were servants of Nawab Hussain Shah in such big positions. One was in charge of the treasury, one was the prime minister. And although they were born in Saraswat Brahmin families, they basically had lost their caste working for Hussain Shah. And what did Mahaprabhu do? He took Sri Rupa and he made him the Rasacharya. And he took Sri Sanatan and made him the Sambandha Acharya. You know, inclusiveness of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is a point that I think as devotees we should meditate on and we should incorporate into our lives. Like if we look at Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Lord Chaitanya was the incarnation of love. He was the manifestation of love. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was the manifestation of compassion. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was a manifestation of humanity. You know, humanity meaning Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was good to everyone. He was humane in his dealings with everyone. And then we fast forward 500 years to our Srila Prabhupada, who was the perfect representative of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And how do we see Srila Prabhupada? Prabhupada was a manifestation of love. Prabhupada always showed love. Prabhupada always showed compassion to everyone. And Srila Prabhupada was humane in his dealings with everyone, regardless of their background, their color, their identity, whatever. Srila Prabhupada was like, come on, let's engage in bhakti. And I really think that we, as members of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission, we should be like that also. We should show love to everyone. We should show compassion to everyone. And we should be humane in our dealings with each and every person. Everybody is welcome to the Kirtan of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Everybody is welcome, to studying what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give the world. So Rupa came. And Rupa was living with Haridas Thakur, and he was writing his book. So here in Chaitanya Charitamrita it says, one day, while Rupa Goswami was writing his book, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu suddenly appeared. As soon as Haridas Thakur and Rupa Goswami saw the Lord coming, they both stood up, and then they fell down flat to offer him their respectful obeisances. Then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu lifted them up, he embraced them both, and he sat down. And this is kind of a small point, but I find it always interesting. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu liked to embrace devotees. He always loved to embrace his pure devotees. Mahaprabhu was a hugger, which he was so kind and affectionate to everyone. And then the Lord inquired, Rupa, what kind of a book are you writing? And then he held up a palm leaf that was a page of the manuscript, and when he saw the fine handwriting of Rupa Goswami, his mind immediately became very pleased. And being so pleased, Lord Chaitanya, he praised the handwriting of Rupa Goswami, and he said, the handwriting of Rupa Goswami is just like a row of pearls. So beautiful was his writing. Yesterday I asked Braja Mohan's son, Shyam, I said, do you have nice handwriting? And his mother said, when he tries. But Rupa had such fine handwriting. While reading the manuscript, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw a verse on the page, and as soon as he read the verse, Lord Chaitanya became overwhelmed with ecstatic love. Just by reading the verse, Lord Chaitanya started exhibiting symptoms of Mahabhav. And this is the verse that he read. Tunde tandavani rathim bitanute tandavali labhyate karna kroda kadambani katayate karnar budeya spriham chetaha prangana sangani bijayate sarvendriyanam kritam no jane janita kriyadbir amrite krishneti varna dvai. Who knows this verse? Anyone? Oi. This is the verse. Rupa Goswami has written, I do not know how much nectar the two syllables Krishna have produced. When the holy name of Krishna is chanted, it appears to dance within the mouth. And then we desire to have many, many mouths. When the name enters the holes of the ear, we desire to have many millions of ears. And when the holy name dances in the courtyard of the heart, it conquers the activities of the mind, and therefore all of the senses become inert. Who has heard this verse before? Everybody. It's such a good verse. And I think that maybe many of us who are here, we've had that experience. I mean, has anyone here ever had that experience? Put your hand up. Yeah, a few people. Amal has had that experience. Who can understand how much nectar is contained in the two syllables Krishna, only in Krishna? When my tongue vibrates those two syllables Krishna, I want to have a multitude of mouths and I want to have a multitude of tongues so I can chant more and more and more. And when that name, when it goes inside the hole of my ear, then I want to have so many ears. You know, we read, I think in the Bhagavatam and different Goswami texts, that the young ladies of Vrindavan, they curse Brahma. And they say, "You're such a stupid creator because you've created us with eyes that blink. And when those eyes blink for just the fraction of the second, and we can't see Krishna, then it feels like a millennium." And here it says, just to hear that name, I want to have millions of ears. And then it says, then the name goes inside to the courtyard of the heart. And when the name dances in the courtyard of the heart, something special happens. And what is that something special? Mind and senses turn off. Our enemies, they just become subdued. That's such a wonderful feeling. And yeah, and that's what chanting the holy name is like. If we chant purely, that's the experience. Sometime Krishna will give that experience, even we're not expecting, and something will happen. And we'll have that experience. And you know, Krishna is such a wonderful person. And because he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he's totally independent. Krishna can give that mercy anytime he wants to. Even you can be in what you feel is your worst condition of life. If Krishna chooses to give you that mercy, nothing can stop Krishna from giving you that mercy. And I had personal experience of that, you know. If I could share, I had personal experience of that the very first time I chanted Hare Krishna with Vaishnavas. And I, this is a long time ago. This is back in 1971. And I had read the Mahamantra in yoga books. And for some reason, of all the mantras, you know, Om Namo Shivaya, or Hanuman mantras, or Durga mantras, or Ram mantras. I like this Maha mantra. And I used to say the Maha mantra, but I had the wrong idea. Because back when we were young, mostly the idea, before we came to Prabhupada, mostly the Indian spiritual idea was all Mayavadi, Advaita, Vedantic. We're going to have some light, And I used to have this idea that by chanting Maha Mantra, it was going to be like, being in the middle of like the World Cup stadium at like, midnight, and then all of a sudden all the lights come on at once. And I used to walk and I used to chant Maha Mantra, but that never happened. But then in the end of May, in 1971, I was going to a music festival in Pennsylvania. It was a music festival that never happened. People went there and they gathered, but the festival never happened. But while I was hitchhiking there, I had one mantra going in my mind, and I kept saying, God, when I reach there, let me meet a Hare Krishna. God, when I reach there, let me meet a Hare Krishna. And I just kept repeating that over and over and over again. So a person put me down from the car, and I started walking through this forest. And there was a lone person at the end of the forest. And I walked up. The first person I saw at the festival, I walked up. It was a devotee. It was Sri Govinda. You remember Sri Govinda?
Chicago.
Yeah, Chicago. And he looked at me and he said, chant Hare Krishna and take Krishna Prasadam. And I said, sure, where do I go? And he said, well, you just walk, 100 meters or so, and you'll see a circle of people, and look inside the circle and the devotees will be there. So I walked and I found this big gathering of people, and I sort of like made my way through. And sure enough, devotees were sitting there. And it's the first time I'd ever seen a group of devotees. And it was transcendental. And Kirtan was going on. Kirtan was being led by one devotee. His name is Santosh. Did you ever know Santosh? Anybody here? Mataji, you knew Santosh? He was leading Kirtan. And he was just sitting there, very straight, eyes closed, just singing Maha Mantra. And no frills, no nothing. And they had those pictures of like Murli Manohar standing by the Jamuna, those old Brajabasi paintings. They had it on posters. The devotees used to do that. They put posters, and we take those on Harinam with tassels on them. And they were burning this horrendous spiritual sky incense, strawberry fields incense. And the girls, it's like they had these rings in their nose, big rings in their noses that came to their ears, and they all had like their hair parted, and they had like long braids coming down the side, and they had their heads covered, and back then we didn't have saris. We'd just go to the fabric store and cut off 6 meters of polyester cloth, and that was a dhoti, and I don't know how many meters the ladies would need for a sari. And it was very transcendental. And so I walked up, and Santosh was just so sober, and he was singing. And I knew the words of the mantra, And so I caught the melody. And the melody wasn't difficult. It's like the only melody we had back then. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. You know, at my home in Vrindavan during Kartik, we have Kirtan practically every night. And all these Kirtaniyas come, you know, and the Kirtans are just absolutely celestial. I mean, have you chanted there before, Amala? I mean, it's just like phenomenal. And one night, and so many like here, we're hearing so many beautiful melodies being sung with so much bhav and so much love. And one night, the Kirtan was just flying. And His Holiness Indradumna Swami walked in. And he would, and 300 or 400 people pack into the courtyard for chanting over there. And His Holiness Indradumna Swami came in, and he was like, his eyes were like so big. And he said, "How do they do that? How do you do kirtan like that?" I said, "Maharaj, it's very simple." And he said, "Really? What have I got to do?" I said, "Just take birth in ISKCON." We have people like Amala, birth in ISKCON. Achyuta Gopi, birth in ISKCON. Ananda Yogi, birth in ISKCON. Gaurvani, birth in ISKCON. You know, so many of the young Kirtaniyas I don't know, birth in ISKCON, you know. But back then it was Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Anybody been in Indradumna Swami's Kirtan? He knows one melody. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. And every time Gurudev sings Kirtan, it's ecstasy. People are just like flying and dancing and feeling so much spiritual joy. So I caught the melody and I knew the words and I sang. And the moment I sang, I had this experience where it's like my mind, it turned off. My senses turned off. Tears started coming to the eyes. Bumps started coming on the skin. And I didn't know what it was. It was like this wave just overcame me. And I thought everybody got it. But one of my friends that I traveled with, you know, was behind me. It was like she was a girl that I'd grown up with. We had like a brother-sister type relationship. And I thought she must be experiencing this experience also. And I turned, and she was just chit-chatting, you know, like nothing happened at all. And when my mind started functioning again, I started thinking, this song that I just sang is God. That was my first thought. I said, because there has never been something so powerful that it could just stop my mind and senses like that. So then the kirtan came to a conclusion, and everybody started to disperse. And I started to walk away also. But one young lady, her name is Sri Lekha, Mataji, you remember Sri Lanka? Sri Govinda's wife? Sri Lanka saw that something happened to me. When I was starting to walk away, she came and she stopped me. She said, "No, don't go." She said, "I will get you Krishna Prasad." And I said, "What's Krishna Prasad?" And she said, "It's spiritual food." And so she brought me a cup of halava. And when I put the halava in my mouth, I went into ecstasy again. And I looked at her and I said, "What is this?" And she said, "This is halava." And I said, Yeah, but what are the ingredients?" And she said, "It's made from semolina and butter and water and sugar." I said, "Impossible." Because my whole school years, from the time I was like fourth grade or something like that, I would get up like 6 in the morning, walk into the kitchen, take a big pot, fill it halfway with water, go take my shower, make up my bed, come back, the water was boiling, I'd get the, cream of wheat out, stir it in, pour it in a bowl, put about 250 grams of butter on top, and about a half a kilo of sugar, and that was my breakfast, And that's why we're the way we are. I said, "I've been doing this my whole life. There must be something else that you put in here." She said, "Oh yes, we put a very special ingredient in here." And I said, "What is it?" And she said, "The saliva of Krishna." Now, these days we have, introduction courses, foundation courses, bhakti shastri courses. We have, so many things that we do just to get people to join, The first thing she told me, "This is Krishna's saliva." And I had absolutely no idea who Krishna was. I didn't know. And I said, "Oh my God." I said, "I don't know who he is, but he's got some pretty tasty saliva." And then she said, "Wait, I'll bring you something to drink." And she brought me lemonade. And so she gave me the cup of lemonade. I said, "What is this?" And she said, "This is lemonade." And then my mundane mind started going, if they put his saliva in the cream of wheat, what did they put in here? And I drank it and I went into ecstasy again. And then she looked at me and she said, "What is your name?" And I said, "My name is Sean." And she said, "Sean, I want you to do something for me." And I said, "Sure." And she said, "But if I'm going to ask you to do something, you promise that you'll do it for me?" I said, "Sure." I said, "What do you want?" And she said, "But you really promise that you'll do this?" And I said, "Yes, I promise." And she said, "What I want is this. The rest of this night, I want you to walk around this festival, and I want you to tell each and every person that you meet that the most wonderful thing that they can do in their life is to chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra." And I said, "Sure, I can do that." And I did it. And then the next morning, when they had their chanting, after the chanting and the mist rose up, the Pennsylvania mounted police were on horseback to drive all of us away from the site. And everybody started to leave, and when they were leaving, I I stopped at one point. I was leaving, and then the devotees were leaving in their van, and they got out and started doing a dancing kirtan. And so I started singing. I went into ecstasy again, and I started dancing in kirtan, and it was just like, what is happening? How is it that a person can fly? Remember when it was young and we would dance in kirtan, how wonderful it was? Now we can't even get our feet off the ground. The devotees, now devotees, what can I say? Back then, devotees, they danced so beautifully. They'd do the Swami step and they would sway, and it was like so gorgeous and so transcendental. And then they had to go. And then Sri Lekha, she had a little Shastra bag. Back then, everybody had a Shastra bag that they wore that had a book inside. And she pulled out a little blue Bhagavad Gita, and she looked at me and she said, "Sean, you have to get this book." And she said, "I'll read something to you." And quite randomly, she just opened it up, and she read, "There are 3 gates leading to hell: lust, anger, and greed." And when she read that, I went, "Oh my God, that's the heaviest thing I ever heard." And I said, "Please, sell me the book." And she said, "No." She said, "I don't know if I'll ever get another one." Because that's how poor we were back then. We had no money, and if you got a book, you didn't want to let the book go. And then they left. And I just kept chanting. And then about 10 days later, I was in Rochester, New York. And I was riding the bus into town one morning, and I saw devotees on the street chanting Hare Krishna from Buffalo. So I got off the bus, and I went, and I got in line, and I started singing, and I went into ecstasy again, singing with the Vaishnavas. And those devotees back then, they were so... when you became a devotee, were you attracted by the qualities of the devotees? Absolutely. The devotees were just so pure-hearted and just so fixed on Prabhupada, It was something amazing. And they spoke differently, and they act differently, and everybody was so kind, and was like constant kindness. And in this world, we don't experience constant kindness all the time, And with the devotees, it was like constant kindness, because that's what they saw in Srila Prabhupada. And after about a half an hour of chanting, one devotee came up to me and said, "Do you know anything about chanting Hare Krishna?" I said, "Absolutely not." I said, "All I know is every time I sing this song, I go into ecstasy." And so they were very kind to me. They gave me prasad. I shared with them. And then they were going back to Buffalo, and they wanted me to come. But I didn't have my toothbrush, and I didn't have my sleeping bag. And they said, "Well, we'll come back on Friday. We'll take you back on Friday." And so I went back with them on Friday, and I went into the temple on a Friday night, and then I never left. But after I was in the temple for about a week, our temple president said, "Sean, I have a nice service for you." I said, "What's that?" He said, "I'd like for you to be the temple commander." And I said, "Well, what is temple commander?" And he said, "Well, temple commander is the person who keeps all the devotees engaged in devotional service." And he said, "I'm sure you can do that." And I said, "Okay, I'll try." So then I started going up to all these people, who were so kind, and I was saying, Prabhu, could you help wash the bathroom today? No, I have something else to do. And I would say, Prabhu, could you help to cut the vegetables in the kitchen? No, I have something else to do. Prabhu, could you help to sweep the stairs? No, I have something else to do. And then I started thinking, what's the matter with these people? Because we've been, back then, we just heard devotional service. You're gonna do devotional service, and devotional service was the greatest thing we could do. And I kept trying to get these people to do devotional service, but everybody was not wanting to do the devotional service. And finally, I started thinking, God, in my mind, I was saying, you're an idiot. You're so stupid, Why don't you, are you nuts? You don't want to do devotional service? Then the ecstasy stopped. Because I started committing Vaishnava aparadha. The ecstasy stopped. So it'll really work. These two syllables, Krishna. These two syllables, Krishna, they will transform our hearts. These two syllables, Krishna, they will take us by the hand. They will lead us through the science of devotional service. Just like the entire methodology of the science of bhakti, Mahaprabhu is described in the first verse of Sikshastakam alone. Everything from the dawning of faith in the heart of the jiva to full-blown prema bhakti. He's described that in his first verse alone. So much potency is in these names. But if we commit offenses while we do it, our progress will be slowed down so much. So we should really be cautious. And there's that nice verse somewhere in the first chapters of the Bhagavatam, where it describes that, if you're chanting the holy names and you're hearing the glories of the Lord, but your heart is not melting and tears are not flooding from your eyes, it means you have a steel cage around your heart. Does anybody know that verse? Anybody read that verse? Mataji has. And that steel cage is offenses to the holy name. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in ecstasy when he heard that verse. And when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu chanted this verse, Haridas Thakur, upon hearing the vibration, he became jubilant and began to dance while praising his meeting. Mahaprabhu just sang the verse in Sanskrit, and Haridas heard it, and Haridas went mad and just started dancing and crying and in total ecstasy. And then it said here, one has to learn about the beauty and the transcendental position of the holy name of the Lord by hearing the revealed scriptures from the mouths of devotees. Nowhere else can we hear of the sweetness of the Lord's holy names. We'll read a bit of Srila Prabhupada's purport. It is said in the Padma Purana, Ataha Shri Krishna Namadi Nabhavid Grayam Indriye. Chanting and hearing the transcendental holy name of the Lord cannot be performed by ordinary senses. The transcendental vibration of the Lord's holy name is completely spiritual. Thus, it must be received from spiritual sources and must be chanting after having been heard from the spiritual master. One who hears the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra must receive it from the spiritual master by oral reception. So all of us here have been blessed by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. All of us here have been blessed by Srila Prabhupada. And all of us here have been blessed by your spiritual masters. Just like those young people that I met in the beginning. They were just so young. We were all 20 years old, 19, 20 years old. But because they heard from the lips of Srila Prabhupada, and they went out, and they were so sincere, and they were so fixed, and they were so dedicated. When they sang the holy names, it was like hearing the same holy name from the lips of my spiritual master. And as far as that instruction that girl gave me, Sri Lekha Mataji, many years later, I was reflecting, and I was thinking, actually, that was my divine master, Srila Prabhupada, speaking through the lips of his disciple. And Srila Prabhupada was just telling me what I'm supposed to do. Please go everywhere and tell everybody how wonderful is the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And in conclusion, I'd like to just read one verse, because I've taken a lot of your time today. And I think the Kirtan is supposed to begin soon. So let me find this verse. And it's a verse which is also from Padyavali. Please let me find the verse, Krishna. Okay. Give me 1 second, please. Please be patient. We'll read just a couple verses from Padyavali. Padyavali is a compilation of verses put together by Sri Rupa Goswami. This is one verse. As the rising sun immediately dissipates all the world's darkness, which is deep like an ocean, so the holy name, if chanted once without offense, can dissipate all the reactions of a living being's sinful life. All glories to that holy name of the Lord, which is auspicious for the entire world. And this is the verse, 2 verses that I wanted to read to you. And then we'll stop, because I've taken too much of your time. Srila Prabhupada had one of his godbrothers, his name was Srila Akinchana Krishnadas Babaji Maharaj. And Babaji Maharaj and Srila Prabhupada, they loved one another. They really loved one another.